Happy Sunday, Infuse You listeners. This is your girl T. I am back with the season finale of the Infuse You podcast. This season has been nothing short of extraordinary. It's been a wild and beautiful ride. I've had multiple guests on here, from small business owners to those in the nonprofit space, sharing their testimonies, their journeys, and their stories. And those testimonies and journeys are impacting women across the globe. So today we are closing this out with a special guest. I'm so excited for you guys all to learn about her if you don't already know. I was introduced to her virtually through Shantoya Nicole, who was a former podcast guest and also a special friend of mine. And I'm truly honored, Mel, that you've chosen to join this podcast episode for my season finale. So today's guest is a powerhouse of purpose. Mel Carr is a passionate entrepreneur, author, and branding strategist who's helping women to rise, to write, and to build six-figure legacies. Yes, I said six figures. So just ponder on that for a little moment. As the founder of Cloversy and the visionary behind her Right to Rise, Mel blends faith, strategy, and storytelling to ignite transformation in every woman she mentors. She has coached hundreds of women entrepreneurs through Six Figure Chicks platform, empowering them to elevate their brands, attract clients, and walk boldly in their calling. Whether she's teaching brand boosting tips or guiding women to publish their first book, Mel shows up with heart, hustle, and fire. So please buckle up your seats and get ready for a conversation that is going to include wisdom, inspiration, because when Mel Carr speaks, women rise. So welcome, Mel. Thank you again for saying yes to this podcast episode. I'd like to kick off my episodes by having my guests to share their favorite quote, whether that's a Bible verse or just something that you tell yourself every day to get yourself motivated. So what would that quote be for you?
Thank you. And I am so excited to be here. And yes, I love this quote, always be launching. And I tell that to myself most days of like, just remember, like there's always something to be celebrating in your personal life or your professional life that enables you to, promote yourself, promote your brand, your business, always be launching, just like always have your mindset on, wow, what's something that I have going on right now? Do I have a promotion? Do I have a special event? Do I have a new offering to my community or to my clients? And that it's not that we're just settling for what we've created from day one. It's like put on your thinking cap and and be creative with what you're offering and serving to others.
Like that. Always be launching. I'm going to write that on my sticky note and put it on my mirror. I really like that. I know once we get comfortable in our businesses and the things that we're doing, we just do the same thing over and over and over. And then that's when we get stuck and there's nothing new to bring or no excitement going on. So I like that. Always be launching.
Yeah,
Add
I
that
do
to my
too.
list of quotes.
I love it. I'm glad I could share.
And so before we dive into the interview questions that I have, can you just share a little bit about yourself, your personal life, where you're from, anything that you want the listeners to know about Mel Carr that's not related to all your amazing ventures and businesses?
Gosh, I know. And it's like, okay, well, where do we start? I've been in Phoenix for about 6 years. I lived overseas for a number of years, which I am so grateful for. Experience other ways of living. I spent some time in Australia. I spent some time in the Marshall Islands. If you don't know where that's at, look it up. It's in the middle of nowhere. Just being able to travel the world and get new experiences and meet new people and just know that time for me spent overseas really changed my pathway, because when I was ready to come back to the States, the US, I was like, gosh, what else is there? Because I had been in corporate for 25 years plus, and I'm like, I'm tired of making money for other people. How am I going to use my expertise, my knowledge to provide for myself and do something that is more rewarding than just clock in and clock out? And yeah, that's when I started Cloversy, my first business, which is an executive virtual assistant company filled with great support from fantastic females all here in the US. So we provide an executive level of virtual assistants. The fantastic women that are on my team are great at being able to give time back to our clients, like you and me. We don't need to be doing everything in our business every day that isn't moving the needle forward for our business growth. And so that came from my experience in running small companies and operations. And I was like, gosh, okay, let's support the smaller businesses or the solopreneurs that don't necessarily need a full-time person, or they maybe have an assistant, but that assistant doesn't have skill sets for every part of your business. If there's gaps, it's okay to bring in other people. You don't have to give everything on to that one person or that small team of yours. It's, for your business to grow at the rate that you want it to, it's so important to delegate those day-to-day tasks that you don't even like doing or don't have time to do. We should not be replying to emails at midnight. And sometimes it's
Yeah,
hard. Yeah, we've all been there, including myself.
yeah, I agree with that. We got to find balance and, you got to find people to help. It takes a village. And some people say, oh, you have a small business, you're doing good. And I'm like, well, you have to have a team. It's not just me that's doing it. And as I've shared on a previous episode, I grew up and all I learned was you go to school, you get your diploma, you go to college, you get a job and you work. And that's how my parents raised me. So I've been working since I was 16. And I'm still working in corporate America, but it was my husband that showed me that there is life outside of corporate, which is how I got started in small business with him, running our t-shirt company, and then how I found myself doing this podcast. So thanks for sharing that. Now, you said you lived overseas. What can you share? What was your favorite place to live overseas?
Yeah, it's challenging because they are both so different. So Australia was amazing because before Australia, I had lived 16 years in Maui. So I had relished in the island life and really had an amazing circle of friends and family there. But then Australia was like a whole different way of living. I was in concrete jungle, like I was in the city in Sydney. I lived a block away from the opera house. And so I got to experience living, working, commuting in so many different ways. That was the first time that I had to regularly take the subway. And I was like, whoa. The first time I got on the subway, I remember it was scary. I'm like, this should not be this, challenging. But, after the first time, it was okay. But Australia was amazing just because it's such a vast country with so many areas to visit and experience, and the people there are just amazing. And then the Marshall Islands was another complete change because it was a really tiny island. We didn't drive cars to and from work. We rode bicycles. And so that was a different experience all in it. Yeah. But I mean, I love Arizona and, I feel like it's my home. And people ask me all the time of like, oh, are you going to move somewhere else? Where else would you go? And I'm like, I don't think that way. I really just am okay with where I'm at. And it is different moving when you're older and or by yourself, like to rebuild a community of trusted people. I have that here and I really like Arizona.
Yeah, I love it here. Not the hot summers, but I love that we don't have tornadoes and we have some flooding, but not in where we're at, but some parts of Arizona. But all the crazy weather that you watch on the news, mudslides and all these things, I'd rather just be hot for the summer and not have to deal with all of that. So yeah, we love it here in Arizona too.
Yeah.
All right, so you shared a little bit about Cloversy and what it is. Can you tell us how or what inspired you to launch this type of business, this virtual assistance?
Yes. So, kind of as I said, I was at that point of figuring out if I wanted to venture out and do things on my own or just continue working for another company, giving to their profits. And when I moved here, I had started going on interviews and applications. And I just was not feeling it. Like I just couldn't find that job that that gave me the wow factor of like, oh, I want to go work there. So I started making friends with smaller business owners in the area. And they're like, well, why don't you use your expertise to help small businesses? And that's when Cloversy, was created because I saw the gaps and the need for the assistance with small business owners. And it started with social media management. And then I started seeing the gaps in, the entrepreneurship in my own business of going, wow, as my business grows, doing those day-to-day tasks such as your email management, your calendars, your communications with clients, back and forth communications, creating presentations, thinking creatively about your business and how you're going to communicate that to the outside world can be easy enough, but when you're in your business day in, day out for years, you do lose focus at times of what the outside really wants to see and hear from you. So to have other people come in and really understand your brand, your voice, your vision, and be able to creatively produce content and images to represent your business, I realize that is just one of the greatest opportunities that I can give to somebody else because I understand I've been there, done that. I've seen the change and the growth of my own business by delegating some of those tasks that, like, I'm not an expert in. I just did it from day one because that's how we are, right? We wear all the hats from the very first day, and then we continue doing that and thinking, I started this way, so I have to keep doing it this way. And it's not the case. Like, you're a better business person for being able to see when it's time to delegate to somebody else who is better at it than you.
Awesome. I love that. And then if there's a business owner, a small business owner that's watching this episode, how would they tap in to Cloversy? What would be the first step if they were interested in using the service for their small business?
Yeah, I would say first take a quick look at your business, all those tasks that, again, you don't like doing, you don't have time to do, or you don't want to be doing, and jot them down. And then let's connect over Zoom, phone, in person if you're in Arizona, and just have a conversation because I'm not going to be like, one and done. We're the end all be all for every single entrepreneur out there or small business. Well, if we have a conversation, I'll be completely open and honest with you and be like, okay, well, we may not be the right fit for you, but let's see who in my circle of influence can possibly assist you. Because I'm going to be thinking and looking at your business as a business owner, going, how can we help you? And if we're not the best fit, somebody else out there is, because there's so many amazing people out there doing what I do and what my assistants do on my company. So it's like, you know, there's so many potential opportunities out there for business growth and support that just a simple conversation is all that needs to be done at the start. I always say that if this is the first time for people looking to start delegating and having those conversations with potential support teams, is like, take it slow, talk to a handful of people or at least 2 to 3 other businesses. Don't just settle. Like, we don't settle, or we don't offer services for our clients to just settle. Talk to a handful of people, see who's right, see who connects and really meshes well with your business and vision. Our clients are across the board. It's more for the right fit, and if we offer the proper services to support their vision.
Yeah, I like that. You have to make sure that it's aligned to what your business needs are, not just because someone referred you. So I like that you shared that you guys will be honest and say, we're just not the right fit. Maybe go try, this organization. So I really like that.
Yeah, I don't want to waste anyone's time. Just like, it's just the reverse. It's like we are all in this together. And that's what I believe in my business, Cloversy, and the Six Figure Chicks. The book series, the movement is like we all just need to come together and support and uplift each other. There's no competition, it's all collaboration.
Yes. That needs to be on a shirt. No competition, all collaboration. So, next question is about six figure chicks. Can you share a pivotal moment that shaped your path as a six figure entrepreneur?
My goodness, yes. So in the very first book, I shared the reason how Six Figure Chicks was created and why. Who I have to thank for that. So I believe in business coaching to help grow our businesses. So my very first business coach, Carrie Conley, she was kind of the spearhead of the Six Figure Chicks mission movement. She sat me down. She was like, okay, how much money do you want to make your first year? And I said, gosh, I don't know. I just want to, have a good life, pay my bills. I just hadn't thought of that at that time. And we were probably in maybe the first 6 months of my business. And she's like, okay, well, I need a figure so that we have something to work towards. I said, okay, fine, $100,000. And she wrote it down and we met weekly. She gave me the tools and knowledge and insight into how to better develop my business and delegate and add to my team so that I could grow. And I reached that 100K. I surpassed it the first year. And then in 2022, when I wanted to do the first book collaboration, I thought, gosh, what am I going to write about? And I thought back onto that time in my life and my business of having that conversation with Carrie of going, wow, I didn't know what to expect or, what kind of goal to set up for myself. So with her help, I was able to navigate the first year of business going, wow, I do have something to work towards. And that's when I thought, okay, six figures. How many of us really talk about money with each other of like, hey, I'm so happy I got this new client on and it's really helped me, grow. And, you know, I thought back on the corporate days of like women, we didn't come together and we didn't talk about how much money we made, how many clients we had. We were all like, let's get you the top first. And, that was it. So I thought, how amazing it would be to come together and really celebrate our success, not to outdo each other or one up somebody else. It's to celebrate our success so that we can empower others to know that it's possible. When you put your mind to something, when you have a goal in sight, it's achievable. And for us to be able to come together and share our stories and to know that we're not alone, that somebody else has been through something similar that we're going through, that it's so comforting, especially in the entrepreneur world, because it's kind of a lonely world at times.
Yeah, it gets a little lonely, like you said, unless you have a team. It's just you and you doing everything. And coming up with all the ideas, the products, the everything. So I haven't had a chance to read one of the books, but that's on my to-do list. So I'm excited to dive in to one of the six-figure book series. Now, how do you balance creativity, leadership, and strategy across all of your ventures? Because you have your hands in a little bit of everything. So how do you balance it all?
It's interesting you asked that. I balance because of the support that I have from the amazing women on my team and the amazing women that are in the books and my clients. They help keep me grounded. They are there for me when I have questions or I need other insights and ideas. Like we can't all come up with every single idea or you know, content piece, promotion. Like, I just started something new on sharing a little bit of my personal side of the dating in my fees now. And it was scary because I'm not doing it for, promoting my company. I'm sharing it because other people are going through what I'm going through. But my team of women who work in Cloversy, I shared that with them and they were just so excited and they were cheering me on and they were like, oh my gosh, we can't wait to hear how it went and, keep us updated. Maybe this is something more that you can share with the community because there are other people going through this. And that's just to put a real touch to myself, my business, and be vulnerable. And that's what I ask from the authors that are in Six Figure Chicks is that we're being vulnerable of sharing sometimes stories that nobody else in our circle or friends know about. But once we do share those stories, when they become really real and raw with our readers, the world, it is freeing and then healing through the power of our storytelling.
Yeah, and that's what people told me when I first started the podcast. You shared that, like you're saying that, and it's all over the internet. Everybody can listen to it. And I said, God put it on my heart to put the story out there because, like you said, someone else is going through it or they've been through it, and what you're sharing, how you made it through, will help them. So, I mean, I know it may seem crazy, but and everyone can't do that because it's just, everyone doesn't have it in them. But if they listen to other women like you and I who have done that and empower them, then maybe one day too, they'll be willing to share their story because it's so helpful listening to other women that have gone through something or that are going through something that can help you, uplift you, and then also help you not to make the same mistakes because life is all about learning and we're all going to make mistakes. But if you tell me, hey, T, I've already tried that and this is what I encountered, then I can go take it a step further and skip that, that setback that you had or vice versa. So,
Yeah. I love saying, we've been there, done that, and let's help others get through those turning points of their life and or just so that they're not alone. They do matter because, I care about other people and, we appreciate when other people can look at us and our history and our past and go, wow, you did a great job. Just a simple way to go is so powerful from a complete stranger of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that little old me could have an impact on somebody else's life. And I say, if my story impacts and empowers one person, job well done. Like it's drop the mic kind of thing. Like, peace out. I'm done.
yep, it only takes one. If you impact one person, if you get one person to read the book, your job is done because it only takes one and then it's going to spread because that one person's going to share, "Hey, I read this book or I listened to this podcast. You should listen to help me do this." So, it just takes one person. And people are
Yeah.
always afraid to put themselves out there, but you have to because like that one person can take everything to the next level.
Mm.
So now we're going to transition to Her Right to Rise. So can you tell us about what Her Right to Rise is? What does it mean for you and how does it empower other women?
Yes, thank you. So I'll take it a little bit further back of like you mentioned, Shantoya connected us, which she is amazing. I love her and
Yes.
I just saw her recently, but she was in one of the Six Figure Chicks books sharing her story, to inspire and motivate others. And after she came onto the family of Six Figure Chicks authors, I shared with her my desire to help the communities where these books are being launched, to help the young women that are leading our country now. And she was like, gosh, that's amazing. And so we came together and we started sharing our ideas. And Shantoya, having a nonprofit of her own, is very successful and doing great things in the community. She's like, well, let me help you create your first nonprofit. And so thankfully, her guidance and knowledge, expertise helped me create Her Right to Rise. So her nonprofit, Bright of You Foundation, fiscally sponsors Her Right to Rise. So I'm so grateful for her and her support and her team's support. So that enabled us to begin giving back. My reason why for Her Right to Rise was because thinking back to when I was a young woman, I thought I was a woman, but I was just a teenager at 15. I was on my own. I didn't have somebody to ask for help or guidance, such as a mentor. I mean, there were people in my school I'm sure I could have went to talk to, but I just didn't know because you don't know what you don't know. If somebody's not there going, hey, we're here for you. If you have questions or if you're unsure of what to do, please let us nobody was there. Nobody was there raising their hand going, come talk to me. And it's pretty much the same thing now. Like I see so many young women that may look like they have their life put together from the outside, but on the inside, what we don't see, they could feel alone or unsure or uncertain of what to do next. So why not take the author's knowledge and expertise and give back to the community? Give back to the young women that we cohabitate with and see working and going to school or wanting to do more and just not sure who to ask or talk to for that guidance. And again, we've been there, we've done that. Why not share it with those young women so that we can ensure that they are as successful or more than us? Because again, I love giving back and I love seeing other people learn from the good, the bad, the challenging times, the success in our personal lives and business. So Her Right to Rise was created. And for every book that we launch comes with multiple six-figure earning females so that we can share knowledge with those young women. Next Mentorship Day is coming up next year, March 14th. We'll be having the annual Mentorship Day here in Phoenix. We'll invite all the authors from around the nation. Next year, we should have at least 150 authors in all the book series to come in one room for one day and leave a lasting legacy in the young women's lives of Phoenix.
That's awesome. I know you guys recently had an event. I think it was at ASU, and I sent that to one of my friends who has a young daughter. Shantoya shared it with me, so I passed it along. I don't know if she was able to make it, but I did share the information because I thought it was very inspiring what you guys were doing there with the young women.
Awesome. Thank you. Also, I always think about like, oh, how can we make it better? How can we give more? And so one of our other Six Figure Chicks authors, Lorraine Tolman, who's the founder of Amanda Hope, Rainbow Angels, she is the creator of Comfort Cozies, are the coverings for children in chemotherapy. And so I was thinking, how can we empower those young women, the mentees, to really receive our knowledge that day? And I was thinking, okay, Lorraine, how can we give back to your nonprofit, those tiny heroes in chemotherapy? She's like, okay, well, let's have fun and have the mentees create, design vision capes for those tiny heroes. And so we will have at the next mentorship day in March, the mentees will have vision capes for each young lady to create and give back to Amanda Hope so that children all over the nation can receive a fantastic created vision cape with dreams and goals and smiles and really understand the power of giving back to their next generation.
I love that. That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's all about the ripple effect of like, if one person does something great to give to somebody else, that person will go, wow, that's amazing. Let me do that too. Giver's gain.
Yeah. Now, how do you help your aspiring authors find their voice and share their stories? How does that work?
Yeah, I love that because it's all about community, right? It's all about hanging out and being around the people that you know, like, and trust, and you want to be around, and that can understand where you've been or what you're going through now. So, as I said, each book has, up to 20 authors in each book, and we have a 3-month writing process. And so it's, as easy as in 3 months you're going to be an international best-selling author. For those 3 months, we come together multiple times on Zoom and in person, and we bring our editing staff on. And I have an editor chick in charge, Kristen Hugans, who's here in the Valley, and she comes on and helps with those writing blocks. And I always like to share with the authors when they first come on of like, think about what you would say to your younger self. What would you wish she had known? Like if I was talking to my younger self, which I shared in the upcoming book, Houston Volume 2, is I would talk to her in the parking lot at my first job in Red Lobster. And I wouldn't tell her what to do, but I would be there and let her know that she matters. She's not alone. And have that challenging first conversation with somebody, any adult, because that may have changed my future. Because instead, I went from that parking lot to my school and I signed myself out of high school and I didn't finish because I had to make more money and live. And later on, I was able to get my GED and go to college and start my careers. But just if somebody had been there to say, hey, I'm here for you. Can I help you? And how can I add value and direct you to somebody else, that might have changed my future. But I love my life. I've worked really hard to get to where I'm at. And I want to share that with others that we're here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we have to remember, think about, like you said, back when we were growing up and what we didn't have and how things have changed and how it's easy and accessible for us to share things with other people. I mean, we have the internet. We have, like you said, we're on this podcast virtually. You're at your place and I'm at mine, and we're having this conversation without even having to be in person. So there's so many ways to touch the lives of other people and just tell them that you're here for them. Or like you said, there's a resource that you can refer them to versus them just being out in the world alone with no direction and not knowing what to do. So I'm glad that you shared that. So, what advice would you give to women who feel called to write but don't know where to start? And I told you at the beginning that some of my questions are selfishly for me. So, this is one of those questions.
Love that because I was just thinking about that too of like, oh yeah, we had talked about just before we, went on the show. I can remember clear as day the very first time that my first publisher, Katrina Sawa, came into a room when I was at a business mastermind and she said, the easiest way to publish your first book is to be in a book collaboration. And so I said, I had known about anthologies or book collaborations from my other clients. I saw the power of that community, the collaboration, the marketing. And I thought, wow, okay, well, I have never thought about doing it for myself, but why not? And so I jumped at it. And that's when the first Six-Figure Chick book came to creation. But it really is as simple as that. When you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I would love to write a book someday, and it gets put on the back burner for someday to never come because it is really exhausting thinking about, gosh, how do I get started? How much money is it going to take? How much time is it going to take? Maybe I'm not a writer. Like, where do I start? We have notebooks piled up with all these ideas and drafts, but nothing ever happens because it is a lot. It seems like a lot. So instead, being a part of a book collaboration, you're only responsible for one chapter. Like it's like dipping your toes in. You're getting the taste of the whole publishing, the editing parts, but you're not having to do all the nitty-gritty back end. You just got to come, show up, have fun, write your chapter, and be a part of a huge community. Because every author, you come into a book, there's 20 authors. Everyone has at least 1,000 contacts through social media, CRM, your email management, or your personal life. So now you have a collaboration of 20,000 people, 19,000 other people you didn't know before this. So you're opening yourself up and sharing your amazing self, community, brands, business with others that you never would have known without this book collaboration. And you now have 19 other cheerleaders in your corner that are raving fans that want to see you succeed in your personal life or your professional life. So, I mean, like the benefits for being in that book collaboration are so amazing that it can kind of, again, test the waters. You understand what goes on behind the scenes in a little micro dose. And then when your book is published, you become best-selling authors with other people. You get to celebrate the wins. And then you could be like, wow, okay, that wasn't that hard. I can do that too. And with Cloversy is the publishing company behind Six-Figure Chicks book series, but also it's a publishing partner for our clients that want to self-publish their own solo books or other anthologies that they want to do. So we've helped other people publish mini books, and that comes from realizing how powerful and fun it is for me and the authors that have been on the journey with me, but then also giving that power to our clients to do it themselves, but with proper support.
All right. Okay. I got to get my notebooks together. Like you said, there's lots of notebooks and things that you have notes in and ideas. I'm not sure where I want to start, but I know that there's one book for sure that I want to write to give back to the special needs parents and the things that I had to learn at 19 years old raising a special needs child. Like you said, there was nobody there to say, this is what you need to do. There were a lot of doctors and nurses and social workers that thought we couldn't do it because we were too young. And they were looking for us to fail and give her up for adoption. And they didn't have faith that we would be able to do it. So that's something that's been on my heart for many years. Like I said, my daughter's 27, and I just haven't picked up a book or a pen or anything to write anything down. But that's something that I want to give back to the world at some point before I leave this place.
Yeah, and it's so empowering to also realize the power of, like I said, storytelling, but putting the pen to paper, having it printed, sharing it with the world, but then also to have your daughter look at that and go, "Wow, my mom did that. She's
Yeah.
leaving a legacy forever in print." That's a
Yeah.
special moment.
Well, thank you for your advice. So now this is another question for me about branding and client attraction as I'm helping my husband to continue to build our small t-shirt printing company here in the Valley. So you have 10 brand boosting tips that you offer. Can you tell us which one you think people overlook the most? If you want to share all 10, you could do that too. But which one is the one that people just say, oh, I don't need to do that?
Yes, I would say the most important one is to not be afraid and stand behind your brand, but stand in front of it. You see me with my pink t-shirt. It's just like a regular t-shirt, but people know that when they see me, they'll see some sort of branded color, branded look, imaging. I like literally walk around with these books everywhere. I have a box of books in my car. So I have, my notebook with my branding. I have Cloversy hanging from my windows. It's all about owning your brand and being excited to share it with the world. I remember I had a vendor table at one of the networking events for the organizations that I was a part of last year. And I had one of my friends talk to me afterwards. She was like, you had an amazing table. It was set up to the nines with everything branded on point, but you were behind the table. So you were standing behind the brand. And she's like, you would have made, a much more powerful, welcoming area if you had been in front of the brand because this is yours. You should be excited and wanting to welcome people into your area instead of being held behind what you think people need to see. So just be very, again, vulnerable with yourself of like, own it and celebrate it all the time. And so like when people say, "Oh my gosh, Mel C was Cloversy or Mel C was Six Figure Chicks," I'm like, "Yes, I am." Because I love it. It's not about being too boastful or egotistical or too into myself. It's like I'm happy with what I've built and created. I have a fantastic team of women that work for me and help me out on the daily. And amazing clients and fantastic, fearless female authors.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, that's what my husband always says. You're your biggest billboard, so you have to represent when you go out, when we go places. He's always wearing a t-shirt or a hoodie or something with the brand. And then I'm working on getting a decal too for our minivan when we go around the valley so people can scan our QR code and see that we create custom. So yeah, I'm working on the branding part. Right now it's a lot of word of mouth and returning
Uh-huh.
customers. But like you said, you got to put yourself out there and you got to be the face of the brand. So I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
most definitely. The more people that know about you and have your amazing products or services, they become your raving fans and your cheerleaders. And, my businesses have been built and grown from referral marketing only. It's the most organic way to grow my business. And, I couldn't do it without the people that care about me and appreciate all that we do.
Yeah, my husband would agree with you on that. I'm gonna have to have him to run the episode back, but yeah, he's always about the word of mouth. That's how we get our business. People are always saying, "Hey, where'd you get that shirt from?" or "Where'd you get," and that's how we get more customers. So
I
it's a great
love
way
that.
to build the business. So what's your approach to building a brand that attracts aligned clients? So how do you set up your branding to attract the clients that are most aligned with your business?
Well, I'd say I do my very best, but I still can't be perfect. I mean, with Six Figure Chicks, for instance, I'm like, okay, well, I pretty much understand who I want to attract, my ideal client kind of thing, my avatar, but we don't know necessarily from the start if somebody seems like, oh my gosh, they're the perfect candidate, they're the perfect client, until you really start working with them and get to know them. And sometimes they may not be that perfect person that you want to work with. But it's all about keeping that open line of communication. And, if they aren't the perfect person or the as great as you thought they were originally, find the good in them anyway, and see if the relationship can continue. Concentrate on the positive. I am such a positivity enforcing kind of person of like, look at the best in anyone because we all have our own faults. And, you also never know what's going on in somebody else's life. Like, they could have lost someone close to them the day before and in a really bad mood the next day. And if they, you're like, wow, what's wrong with them? I don't want to work with them. Like, take a step back and go, we all have gone through something at some time, and maybe that's just what it is. And so just reach back with something positive um, and it's just all about making the best out of any situation that you're in. And we're all in this together with, the business world and or community living. Like, you know, but I have no perfect answer. Sorry, that's what I meant. Long
That's all right.
way around that. But, yeah, I just say treat everyone with kindness.
And so, how do you help entrepreneurs elevate and engage their audience authentically? I know that a lot of people in business, and you look at their promotions and their things on social media, and you're wondering, like, is this really what they're offering? Or is this something that they're posting just so that they can get people to buy into it or to follow them? So, what's your approach and how do you help entrepreneurs to make sure they stay authentic in their branding?
It's all about, let's go back to the Six Figure Chicks because it's all about being real and raw and open with the audience. Like, these authors share their personal lives with the readers around the world. And like I said, and I'm not lying when I say most of these authors have shared things that they don't tell anyone else. Like, their immediate family members may be the only ones that have known about this. And I have personally seen from when these authors are promoting the book launches and super excited about their first book coming out, the people on their platforms respond with such compassion and excitement for sharing, reading their stories, things that they hadn't ever known about them. And so I say these are great areas, pathways for you to share with your people that may not know the real you or what ticks or what makes you get up in the morning, what happened 20 years ago that has, developed where you're at now. And for me to know something more about you that I didn't know about your daughter, that really brings me closer to you and I want to know more about you. And so that's what I see when these authors promote their books. The people respond with such openness and excitement for really understanding a little bit more about them besides what they see on their LinkedIn profile or their Instagram pictures that they post. And it just opens up conversations that you never would have had without that from just seeing what we post on our social platforms because it's not all perfect and, rainbows and unicorns.
Yep, I always tell people progress, not perfection, because we're never going to get there, not in this life.
Yeah, got it. Like, that's it. And it's okay to be like that and be like, yeah, like, this is me. Sometimes I don't have the best perfect answer, but I'm here for you and I'm ready to be open and honest and real.
Yes. Now I know you also have a podcast. So again, a couple of questions were in here for me. I'm in season 4, and I shared a little bit about how I started the podcast before we got on. So, what inspired you to start your podcast, and then what kind of guests? Who are your favorite types of guests to feature on your podcast?
Well, you have a little bit more time on your podcast than I do, but my podcast was sitting on the back burner for probably close to a year because, as a lot of us do, we take care of our clients before we take care of our own selves. And so my podcast was just kind of sitting there going, someday I'll get to it. And then someday finally happened, and I was like, okay, done is better than perfect. That's what I like to say. And I just launched it, and I wanted to offer the authors in the Six Figure Chicks books another way to get out there and promote themselves. And that's why I started it. And it has grown into bringing on any six-figure earning female, whether they're in a professional setting or they have their own business. And so I thought, what great way to just share a little bit of insight about their awesomeness with the world. I have a 15-minute podcast, so it's one and done, quick in and out. We get a couple of juicy golden nuggets and we talk. But yeah,
Love it.
I love it too. I mean, it's like, how Shantoya introduced us. That's the amazing effect of the circles of influence, how they can grow without us even, reaching out and connecting first. And that's the same thing with the podcast. I bring on my guests, my authors, other people that find me, and that creates new relationships that someday maybe we can serve and support each other or not, but they're always there. We've had that connection, the short interview to go like, wow, she's a great person. Someday maybe I can help support her or vice versa.
Yes. So people always talk about revenue and how much money. I know that you have the Six Figure Chicks books, and that's tied directly to, the women be making the six figures. But what does success look like beyond revenue? What do you think that looks like beyond the amount of money that you've made in the business?
Wow. Well, just to think that, my first business, Cloversy, still going strong, to know that my business has grown from just me to a team of 8+ women around the US and supporting an array of amazing clients. That's success. Like, I get to give back to the women on my team. I get to, pay them for their time so that they can stay at home with their children or have other revenue streams and opportunities to be able to work from home and or work flexible hours. And with the books, it's about seeing the transformation in the authors when they see their name in print and other people read their story. And that's just amazing. That's my passion of being able to give back and see that transformation in the writing of like, wow, okay, I've done it. I love it. Let's do some more.
Yes. And so my last question for you today, Mel, is what legacy do you hope to leave through your work with Six Figure Chicks, Cloversy, Her Right to Rise, all of the ventures that you have going right now? What's the legacy that you hope to leave, excuse me.
Yes, well, to empower others to leave their lasting legacy in the books. And that just flows into the mentorship days and the nonprofit Her Right to Rise to be able to impact other women's lives and to leave a lasting legacy in all of our communities. So my big goals, my dreams are to launch at least one book in every state. So I want to be able to highlight, showcase, and promote six-figure women all over the states, all over the globe. We're going to be a household name. And that way we can impact so many other people's lives.
Yes, I love that. All across the world, you'll find a Six Figure Chick book out there on your shelves. And like you said, all the stories and everyone's path was different to success. And I like that you highlight each of those women in the books. And so I appreciate you again for joining the Infuse You podcast. This has been a great conversation. For those of you that are listening, I hope you get ready to take notes because Mel has shared some great jewels that you want to tap into. So that has been a wrap for season 4 of the Infuse You podcast. I can't believe that this season is coming to an end, but I know I have lots of other things to work on. I will be back for season 5. Don't have a date for you yet. But again, as I said in the beginning, this has been a wild ride filled with powerful stories, bold women, and moments that have moved us. I am so grateful for each and every guest, for every listener, for everyone who has shared the podcast, subscribed to my YouTube channel, and for every testimony that has reminded us why we show up every day, why we speak out, and why we keep building as women. As I alluded to on a previous episode, men, this is a women empowerment podcast, but I know you have a mom, a wife, a sister, someone out there, a woman in your life that would benefit from this show. So if you're watching, make sure you share it with them. This finale was not an ending. It was a celebration, like I said, of impact, purpose, and the fire that fuels us. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Stay infused with passion, with faith, and with power. And again, I will see you next season. You've been listening to the Infuse You podcast. I hope something said today or this season will help you along your life journey. Until next time, continue to do you, be you, infuse you, and be blessed.